This is day 2 of the March 91 7-day retreat at Springwater. Before reading the questions that I've written down, let me briefly say something about the eyes. I didn't do it on the opening night. I didn't do it because I don't want to impose on people how to hold the eyes. And yet, many people who do come to retreat, probably because of previous training, but also because one has found something in this oneself. Most people keep their eyes down during sitting and during walking, and maybe during a large part of the rest of the retreat, not looking at people or smiling at them. And if one comes for the first time to a retreat like this, very quickly it suggests itself that there's something strange going on with people who don't look at you. And the mind begins to associate, to interpret. People are unfriendly, or I've done something wrong, or it's a bunch of zombies. Why is everybody so depressed? So to be careful with all interpretation of each other and of oneself, we move so much more easily and lightly if we don't burden this mind and body with interpretations of what oneself or others are doing. To watch is one thing, to interpret is another. And maybe experimenting with it oneself, with keeping the eyes down, not closed, one may find that a different kind of space is created, which has touch with the people around one, but one is not so compelled by other people, how they look at me, how I impress them. Do they like me? I don't like them. Or the opposite, I want to be close to this person, and fantasy going very quickly if one sees someone who looks attractive to one. So by keeping the eyes down, a quiet space is created, which then one need not feel intruded upon, and yet one does not exclude either. Several people have mentioned to me nodding out during sitting hours, sitting arounds. And the question here is, does one have one's eyes closed? It's not easy to have closed eyes and not to nod out, particularly when there's not much interest or energy available in the body, mind. So if one finds one is nodding out, can one watch whether the eyes are closed and open them? Unless one wants to nod out and take a break, take a sleep, one would be maybe more comfortable on the mattress upstairs. People at times are wondering why I keep my eyes closed while I'm talking. Maybe partly it has become a habit, but it is for me much easier to talk and see and remember how I started a sentence when the eyes are closed. Everything can be seen very clearly that way. And I do not feel then as a speaker in front of an audience. There is a different kind of witness. But people have also asked me, is it all right to look at me while I'm talking? It is entirely up to you. Of course you can. Of course you can look if you wish to. It does not disturb or bother me. Also yesterday, having mentioned about how questions are not put down verbatim, if someone would like to have a question read verbatim, then please write it down. It would be a great help for me. Also, if you have a question you're afraid you may forget it, or want to say something, then jot it down. And maybe you can give me that slip of paper after we've discussed it, looked at it. I have an injured back, and for quite a while I fought, denied, escaped the pain. There was also the fear that others would think I was shirking sitting when I rested. It took me a while to realize that it's all right to just feel the pain and allow it to be there without any denial. Deep within me there is the conviction, concealed within me, that's more how it was expressed. Deeply concealed within me there must be the conviction that I can't do this thing, this work of dropping everything that is not essential. And then I seriously wonder whether I don't really need structure, discipline, ceremonies to provide energy and to prevent laziness, sloth, to rule my life. Often during meditation, when anger comes up, I just see it and go back to the breathing. This time it went on and on and on. I was really getting very angry and amazed to see myself so caught up in it. I feel I'm back to square one. I feel enormous stress since I've arrived here and sat. Things I've never faced. There is so much possibility for distraction from deep stress in our daily life. And then looking out at the trees, everywhere you look, there is something broken. How is one to deal with that? Every retreat I find myself very tired, nodding out, afraid of boredom, just wanting to get this thing over with, to get through the retreat. I realize, maybe for the first time, that I don't have to sit in a certain way. It's all right to sit on a chair without pain. And I don't have to make decisions. Should I sit or should I not sit? Should I go take a walk or not? Just being there this moment is enough. I always felt I had to impress someone while being here. But that's not necessary. I see that whatever I do or might do in life, in a job, will inevitably lead to more greed, more ambition, more self-centeredness. This is becoming ever more clear to me. What is one to do if one does not want to participate in that. Can fear really come to an end? There was another one, something like this. Can I really trust that without any structures, ceremonies, precepts, discipline, this work can take place with energy, alive? Can I really trust that? Where shall we start? Shall we start first? Since there are quite a number of new people here, and all of us can enter into this, no matter how many times we've been here, with being completely with something. Pain was mentioned. Fear, anger. Let's start with pain. Because I found, particularly when I go away from here, abroad, that there is, or to other places in this country, there's a deeply lodged notion in people's minds that there has to be pain endured in this work of meditation. Or else, as one person described, the denying it, denying that one has pain, or fighting it, bracing against it, which are the two ends of the same stick. Either it's good for me or it's bad for me. I can't take it, or I need it in order to become concentrated or come to clarity or enlightenment or arouse energy or whatever all one has been told or has experienced in dealing with pain, concentrating on pain. I think I've already said a number of times that it's good to find a position, chair, bench, cushions, in which the body can be as relaxed as possible. Because a relaxed body and mind have a possibility of opening, of being there. And yet we do tense up. There is pain, an injured back. We often sit twisted. We aren't aware of it. Or certain thoughts, motives, movements in the mind twist the body along. The body corresponds and is sensitively accompanying anything that goes through the mind as memory or thought, desire or fear. The body responds to it. There's no separation between thought, feeling, sensation, emotion, and more thought, and it going on, all intertwined. So, for whatever reason, one may have not notice the onset, but here is the pain in the back. The question which is put usually is, how can I deal with it? How to be with it? Can one watch, first of all, how one is with it? And the one person who mentioned it noticed after a while fighting, having fought it, having denied that there was pain. But then not being able to take it, lying down, and then of course the guilt and the fear, what will other people think of me if they see me lying down or not in the sitting room, which all causes more pain. So, as soon as pain is felt, is the body-mind, we'll use it as one, instantly reacting in a habitual way? Can one watch that? The habitual way being, no, not that, I don't want it. These are the words, but the body expresses those words physically through tension, through bracing, or through shutting out, shutting down, or as it were pushing against this pain, not allowing it space, hemming it in, maybe trying to squeeze it. One needs to watch that, what the body-mind is doing, in the presence of this thing we have always called pain. But now, can one abstain from the label and not call it what one has always called it? Realizing that the word pain already brings all kinds of reactions from the past. Inevitably, it's bad, it should be gone, I must get over it, I shouldn't have it, it'll get worse, I have to take something. These are all associated instantaneous reactions to the word pain. Maybe not the feeling, but the moment one describes it as pain. Because the amazing and observable thing is that if one leaves this alone without a description and wonders what it is, all of these reactions may go into abeyance. There's a curiosity now, being here for 7 days. What is this? This thing that I've always called pain, that I think will get worse, and so on. What is it if I don't approach it with any knowledge from the past whatsoever? And that's not deceiving or kidding myself. It's the truth. I don't know what this is, this moment. It's not yesterday's pain. It is something that is occurring right now, and can I listen to it, feel it, be that without any separation, through the word, through the reaction, the fight, the bracing, the denial. That's all separation, isn't it? Creating this separate entity who has that pain, which is an absurdity, constantly committed by the mind. Creating a separate entity through the ways we think and verbalize and have always thought and verbalized, and all the people around us have done it too. That there is someone who has this and shouldn't have it, and must do something about it. So the mind provides readily an image of the sufferer, the victim, the warrior, and that image seems to confirm that there is somebody separate from it, but we're questioning that. We're not accepting it. wondering about whether at the moment of abstaining from word, not trusting in the old reactions which are seen to be coming up, they're operating, but they have something to do with something known. But this thing right now, I don't know what it is. What is it? And if that question is real for me, alive, I'll listen. I'll give attention. The way I put it is again dualistic, isn't it? How can one use this language without falling into that? There will be listening, let's put it that way. There will be attention. There will be a sensing and feeling directly. Not separate from this thing called pain. It'll be one movement. Attention and pain not being separated. But we only use the word pain because we're talking with each other. But to oneself, one does not have to use the label. We don't have to. And we can experiment with not using labels and wondering what it is without all of the old files spilling out. Files of knowing, files of reacting. No diagnosis, no prognosis, just what is it? Directly. And the attention not just totally, rigidly zeroed in on this paining spot, but open to hear the cough, the bird singing, the wind, if it's there, the breathing here, breathing around one. That's all there undividedly with this thing I call pain. It all shares this enormous space of there-ness, or withness, or isness. The word isn't the important thing, but sometimes a word helps to make something clear. One may be amazed to find that what one has thought to be pain and known to be pain isn't the same if it is not known and thought about but felt directly, without separation, without conflict. And maybe the people around one who see one is not there or is lying down don't think one is shirking sitting. Who knows what they're thinking? So can one abstain from projecting what other people are thinking about me, or even though this is one of our strongest habits? Maybe not abstain right away, just to become aware about how strong it is, how it dominates our life, puts us into prison, worrying what other people think about us, how we will impress them or not impress them. were questions about anger and questions about fear. I didn't write them all down, but there were quite a number of them. Shall we talk about that? Anger and fear. How to be with anger, how to be with fear. See, what we talked about, not being with fear, but being fear. But not I'm fear now, one doesn't have to verbalize about it, just no separation. That holds for anything that the body manifests. Whether we call it anger with its very specific symptoms. Blood rushing to the head, a tightening of the muscles, throat tightening, often all the channels of sensation tighten up, and adrenaline, one doesn't see it, but something all of a sudden gives a gush of energy, activating muscles so one could hit out, or at least talk out endlessly. All of that, once it has been activated and is manifesting throughout the body, can just be listened to the way we talked about pain, not calling it by a name, but just what is going on and giving complete attention to it. And if that happens as instantly as all of this is activated and mobilized, then the anger, or what we call the anger, will not last very long, or the fear will not continue very long. Is if there's an instant attention to what all is going on without knowing it, but feeling it, experiencing it, then it will leave very little trace. It'll come and go fast. But usually, and as this one person described, it doesn't go fast. It goes on and on and on and augments and gets worse, stronger. And in this case, can one wonder what augments or sustains anger and fear? Not only what augments and sustains it, but also what triggers it. That is observable. If one is really interested in finding out about anger or fear. And since anger happens not just in a remembered thing during retreat, but all day long in our working relationships and family relationships, anger flares up all the time, doesn't it? Unless one is so used to suppress it. Isn't it important to really find out about it? What triggers it? What causes it? Not just in the distant past, what was done to me. We all have this distant past. But right now, what keeps it going? Because what keeps it going is the same as what sets it off. And what are the whole dynamics of the thing, which are very complex. Let's just look at anger right now. We just went through it this morning or last night in the meeting room. Why do I get angry? Something is said or done, and the blood rushes to the head, or energy is noticeably there to do something, to lash out. Something is said that, why does it get one's goat? What somebody says. Right now, we can go into the past too, but we want to find out right now what gets me about this. I feel hurt, do I? Humiliated, put down, not acknowledged, not treated respectfully, not treated the way I want to be treated. What I want is being denied, is being crossed, prevented. Somebody hasn't done what I asked him or her to do. My wish wasn't respected. I counted on it and it didn't happen. All of this already takes some quick thought and imagery, doesn't it? How it should be and how it isn't. Right? It happens so quick that it is usually imperceptible. The first trigger. But let's not give up on it just because it seems so imperceptible, because it can be seen. Maybe in retrospect, bringing up, what was this that got me so upset, angry? And the memory of what was said still reverberates. And then, why does this get me so upset? And to see what it did to me, or didn't do, that I expected. And if it remains there, if that's all there is, then we just said, being with all the symptoms, the feelings, and so forth, will quickly end the whole thing. But instead, what usually goes on is that we talk to ourselves about what happened. Not just objectively, descriptively, but in incendiary terms. In loaded ways, just like the newspapers, if they want to excite our emotions, talk with incendiary words. We do that to ourselves. We are our own newspaper, we are our own headlines. And agitating pictures. And respond to that with the emotion of anger. Can one watch that, follow it, trace it out, see it as it happens? How the way I talk about this incident gets me going further. And if I stop talking in this way about the incident, how something lets up on the organism. And not stop out of repression, but out of the intelligence of seeing that this just keeps going, this very imbalanced state of being. Imbalanced and tight. I can't openly perceive anything right now because everything is tightened and distorted and channeled to get this organism places of defense or revenge or whatever. But in addition to these incendiary headlines that go on and keep the body excited, other things go on. There may be a strong notion that I should not be angry. Maybe I have taken precepts or commandments not to be angry. So now I've gotten angry, so there's a conflict. And this conflict causes anger with myself for having transgressed, for being in a way that I have promised not to be or resolved not to be. And another deep notion is that I have a right to be angry. I'm justified to be angry. This is righteous anger because what he did or she did, and so on and so on. Do you see the conflict now between I have a right to be angry and I shouldn't be angry? And that conflict causing more commotion throughout the body? Is this interesting to people? Somewhere we feel we should change. We should become a peaceful person. That's deeply seated someplace too, or maybe more on the surface. And someplace else there is the notion, I should be the way I am. I have a right to be myself. Do you see all of the conflicting ideas we have? Express yourself, be yourself, change yourself. Don't be yourself. And all of that is there someplace operating and adding to the confusion, to the agitation, to the pain, fueling. How is one to see the whole thing? Does that come with interest, with talking about it? Maybe listening to a talk, and not just listening, but really looking, discovering for oneself. And please don't misunderstand. I have not said one shouldn't be angry. I have not said one should be angry. I have not said one should change or shouldn't change. We're just looking at the notions that inhabit us actively, even though they may not be very open and explicitly there. Maybe this is why talk therapies are so helpful to people, because they may make explicit what is concealed by putting into words what one feels very vaguely to be there. And if it's put into words, maybe it can be seen better. That's why we're working so hard here, to put into words so it can be seen better. Not to stay with the words, it has to be seen. Directly, by oneself. No one can do it for one, thank goodness. And we'd be dependent forever on someone else. Someone can explain and point to things, but seeing directly can only happen in each individual human being. Moving on to the question whether fear can end. One person mentioning, I've listened to a lot of talks, listened to tapes, we've discussed it in meetings. But fear hasn't ended. It's been understood quite clearly, but it hasn't ended. And the person asks, has it ended for you? So, Toni? Maybe one has this notion too that something that's seen and in the seeing has abated, slowed down, ended, should be gone forever. And then the disappointment accompanied by a lot of headlines that it is there again. And probably the instant of a fear-arousing thought and the body answering with its symptoms isn't half as sticky as the headlines about it. Why is this still there? Why does it go on? Why haven't I changed yet? How much longer? And so forth. We all have similar ones, but also idiosyncratic ones, each one their own way of putting it. But the effect is the same. To feel dismayed, discouraged, angry, disappointed, depressed, maybe feeling that is also a sentence coming up there. Why don't you give up? Why you continue to do this? If it leads nowhere, all of this stuff which totally overlays the incident that if it's just seen happening, a fearful thought, the body responding with so-called fear symptoms, seeing it, not commenting on it, could be already over. But overlaying all of these ideas and comments and reactions to it, the thing continues. And also keeps on eliciting fear. Because I'm afraid I'll never be done with this. The pathways, I don't understand it. I don't think anybody understands thoroughly. Not the most advanced brain experts probably understand completely how these connections between remembered incidences and the fear that was felt then and the triggering of that today, how all of this happens, how the connections are made. But connections there are. We can all witness that. One thought, the whole body in uproar, anger or fear. And these connections have long been laid down and have often been repeated, so they probably have been strengthened. Physiologically, there's probably something that could be pointed to. The more often a connection has functioned, the more likely it may be to function again. So, the fact that something reminds one of something that aroused great fear will bring about this sensation now. That's what conditioning is. A mechanical establishing of connections between thought, or impression, thought, image, feelings, emotions, and so forth. That's in every human being, these connections exist and have existed for thousands of years, millions of years, however long we have existed. And they may be cumulative. Our individual connections and our social and racial and historical, cultural and whatever. Fear producing impressions. So how quickly, that's the question, how quickly can it be seen and how little can be made of it when it's seen? How quickly is the attention there to see in simple, factual ways what is going on? And also noticing the urge to make something of it, because that's also ancient connections. To make it into something. The internal comment we talked about for quite a length. And if the urge to comment is seen and is not gone with, it's abstained from, then what was a moment of fear will be gone very quickly. But it does take awareness and the intelligence of awareness that sees from having gone through it many times, that starting to comment and make stories about it will only prolong the process and bring no solution. Not only bring no solution, but complicate the whole thing, make a mess of it. We have to go into that much more at another time, but the question just comes up, someone asking, can I trust that this work will go on without the energy aroused by structures, forms, discipline, ceremonies, precepts? At this moment, all I can ask is, what does that have to do? Discipline, ceremonies, precepts, structures, what does all of that have to do with looking at anger or fear or pain? Maybe I don't see a connection. If at the moment of anger I quickly bring up a precept, I must not be angry, and suppress, then the overt symptoms of anger may be brushed away, but there has been no clarifying, no learning, no insight, no intelligence operating. What can I trust? These structures, internal structures, external structures? I have to understand how they are made, how they're created, how they operate. That's what's important, to understand them, not to cling to them. Because you may say, wait a minute, you just don't know the energy, the communal energy that is aroused when we all participate in a common ceremony, taking the precepts of devotional activity. I do know it. I participated in it myself and was very attached to it. There's a great energy in it, a great sort of communality in but it did not shed light on any of what we've been talking about today. It sort of was away from that. To have something to go to. So I don't have to live with this or explore it in the raw, unprotectedly. Does this need trust to work this way? But we have to find out what we mean by trust, don't we? If by trust we mean not taking refuge in defenses, in protection, just going to it, taking the risk, as it were. Is that trust? Does that mean trusting? Is when intelligence begins to operate, does one trust that, or does that operate? And because it operates, one can work this way, look at things without taking refuge, Of course, if I now make an image, a concept out of intelligence, and I trust that, then I may make devotional expressions to that intelligence. And then it's not freely operating to shed light on my fear of being alone, on my fear of dying. I want to meet that, explore that directly. Maybe with other people who are also into this. But on an equal basis, not that I trust that you will see me through. I can't. No one can. We see ourselves through. Pardon the dualistic language. And maybe once this has operated once or twice, then maybe there is this trust that nothing can befall one if one meets something directly. That the danger is in all of our structures into which we escape, in which we hide. Mental structures, physical structures. And that divide us, this community from that community. Religious communities have never yet, to my knowledge, brought off a dropping of their identity and a merging with other communities into one human community. One is always ready to invite the others into one's fold. Anyone can come. But do we have to describe our fold and symbolize it? That's what we've done. It's not our fault that human beings have been doing it. That's what has given feelings of security. But as is becoming ever more apparent in our up-to-the-minute wars, these communities, these entities, nations, tribes, it doesn't work. We're killing each other. It isn't giving security. It isn't giving protection. The people who were told they were fighting a holy war against the infidels are finding themselves in abysmal misery, to their utter perplexity. Someone gave me a letter of an Iraqi writing to a dear friend, I don't know where the dear friend was, and describing what is going on there, and the perplexity. The media told them differently than what is now. And what about ourselves? Where are we? Have we won against evil? That's what we're told. The good ones and the bad ones. Infinite ways this brain has to divide up what is originally, in essence, undividedly whole. Human beings, humankind, the earth, the universe, one undivided whole. Actually, if one listens to it without motive or ulterior motive, just listens and is open, it is also empty. It's an empty whole. W-H-O-L-E. And right now, looking at it, what do structures have to do in emptiness? Just dividing up emptiness? Please, I may sound as though I'm at it trying to persuade people or convince people. I'm not doing that. I'm looking with great passion and we can look at this together, and please, if you don't see it this way, bring it up, alone or in groups. We're exploring together openly, I hope. Although this isn't easy. So quickly do we cling to something, and that something is always somewhere or other me, mine. Which is just a structure of thought. The body faithfully accompanying that thought to make it sound real. We will end here for today.